Hello and welcome, this is Eric from AG Racing Central. Antigravity Racing has its own two juggernaut franchises, WipeOut and F-Zero, but it's been a while since we saw a new entry in either of them. Luckily, there are other developers who have taken on the mantle in bringing us quality titles, but some of these games slipped a bit under the radar and deserve more attention. Therefore, I will in this video list 4 Antigravity Racing games that you may not have heard of. Let's get started. The first game we'll talk about is Antigraviator, developed by Cybernetic Walrus and available on all major gaming platforms. For Antigravity Racing veterans, this game can be described to look like WipeOut, but it plays much more like F-Zero with its straight tracks and focus on maneuvering and boost management rather than combat, even if it does have a unique way of incapacitating your opponents. Like so many similar games, the setting is that technological advancements and terraforming of other planets has made racing with high-speed hovercrafts called gravs very popular. A race campaign is the main attraction in Antigraviator, and you advance through different leagues consisting of a couple of races each with various types of events. Upon completion of a league, you earn a cash reward that varies depending on your position. The credits are then used to buy cosmetic and performance upgrade as well as new gravs. From a gameplay perspective, the controls are very simple. There is no pitching, just steering, barrel rolling from side to side and using the genre staple air brakes of course. Other than barrel rolling into your opponents, there is no direct way of damaging your opponents, but that's where the on-track pickups comes into play. They stack up to a certain number depending on your grav and can be used for two things. Either a temporal speed boost or a trap. In various places on the track, different types of inactive traps are placed. If racer has enough energy provided by the pickup, they can get a prompt to activate a trap if opponents are close by. This mechanic is certainly unique, even if it robs you of the visual satisfaction of watching your opponents be blown to bits, unless you happen to activate a trap right in front of you of course. I'm not entirely convinced this is the best combat mechanic in an AD racer, but at least it provides a sense of strategy since you always have to consider whether to spend your resources on a boost or a trap. When it comes to spending your hard-earned cash, there is a limited amount of gravs to purchase, but they all have their distinct look and you can certainly feel the difference in their attributes on the track. The comprehensive color customization also helps in creating a unique ship. The gravs are also upgradable with various performance-enhancing parts that also slightly change the ship's look, but they are insanely expensive. The campaign will lead you into some difficulty spikes where the only way to progress is to upgrade your grav, which in turn leads to a lot of grinding events you've already completed. A tad more polish would have lifted the site to new heights, but if you're looking for an F-Zero style racer with an incredible sense of speed and great track design, Antigraviator is worth checking out. If you prefer a retro style look, own a PS4, PS5 or Nintendo Switch, then Antigravity Racing might be worth looking into. Yes, this is the actual name of the game. The graphics are just untextured polygons, but the minimalistic design choice is very coherent when it comes to both the surroundings, the tracks and ship design. In most racing games, the first few races in the campaign go a bit unnecessarily slow and you can usually come first without too much effort. In your first race in Antigravity Racing, you will watch your opponents disappear into the distance and you are happy to reach the finish line before they overtake you a second time. You do get a bunch of credits just for finishing a race though, that you can then use to upgrade your ship's stats or buying entirely new ones. Next race you place a little higher, unlock a new race, earn some more credits and the cycle repeats. The gameplay is about as simple as the graphics, with few mechanics other than accelerating, braking, steering and shooting. Even though the gameplay lacks a bit of depth, the controls are exact and you can feel a clear difference in the different attributes when you upgrade your ship or switch to a new one. There are speed pads present on the tracks, but they are much fewer in number than in other similar games, so hitting them quickly becomes very important. The weapon pickups are limited to a homing missile and a machine gun. The missile is an almost guaranteed hit, but you only get one of them, whereas the machine gun can stack bullets up to 100, but they need to be manually aimed. Picking the right weapon for the occasion or choosing between a weapon or a speed pad are both important and strategic choices. Antigravity racing games in general are usually associated with you as a player becoming more and more proficient at the game as the races go faster and faster, so it feels a bit out of place that you are improving your stats rather than your skills. The concept grew on me after a while though, as it feels like you have always something to work towards and even when the race goes bad, you are still clearly rewarded. The game is addictive in that sense and it's hard to put down, and even though it can occasionally feel grindy, you will at least have a couple of different races to choose from relatively early in the campaign. Working towards buying new ships is also enjoyable and they each have their own specific starting and max stats. A newly bought ship might be less powerful than one you already own, but the new ship might have a greater upgrade potential. If you're looking for a cheap AG racer with a different but addictive gameplay loop, Antigravity Racing might be for you. From developer and publisher Jujubee comes the combat-focused Flashout III. This WipeOut-inspired budget title does bring a couple of fresh concepts to the table, and the game certainly has its own style. Here we are once again introduced to the concept of high-speed anti-gravity racing all over our solar system, but Flashout 3 leans heavily into vehicle combat. At the start of the campaign, you pick between the two racers, B and Silas, each with their own backstory, but from a gameplay perspective, it's only a unique weapon that sets them apart. The campaign takes place on a familiar grid system where each grid consists of 4 separate race events. The events are the familiar single races, time trials, eliminations and destructions, and you get experience at the end of each race based on your position. Experience unlocks new ships and weapons. An interesting take here is something that is similar to WipeOut 24/8 in that each ship has a couple of different variants with different paint job and stats. The ship's core focus is always present, but you can tweak the stat point distribution to your liking by selecting a different variant. Energy is a very important stat since it determines how powerful weapons you can equip while selecting your loadout. The different types of gear are divided into attack, counter and utility, and they all take up a different amount of energy. The ship variants and different weapons and power-ups combined makes up for a decent amount of customization that doesn't feel overwhelming. To be the most effective in the game's different events, you also need different loadouts. For single races and destruction events, the offensive weapons will often lead you to victory. You have the classics like the machine gun or a series of homing rockets, but also a bit more creative tools like the EMP, which is a powerful but very slow homing projectile. For elimination events, where the last player every 20 seconds is eliminated, I found that the more defensive equipment like the shield or boost is more important than offensive tools. Every racer's weapons refill automatically, so you will always have someone nearby ready to bombard you with bullets, making the races sometimes a bit chaotic, and getting blown up at key moments is not uncommon. This is a bit of an annoying feature, but with the price tag of just $20, Flashout 3 offers you a lot of value for your money. Also available on all platforms, we have the stylish-looking warp drive from developer Supergonk. In this game you pilot hovercraft that sort of resemble a drone, and both ship design and cel-shaded look makes this game stand out in the crowd, as does its gimmick teleporting mechanic. From the main menu you have a career mode as well as a series of challenges and a survival mode where you pick your next event as the difficulty and rewards gradually increase. As warp drive is lacking in online mode, it's nice to have several options when you're playing alone offline. Everything is presented with a humoristic tone, and there is a good variety in the surroundings of the tracks as well. This is not Supergonk's first AG racer, and this really shows as the game controls really well. There's a clear arcade feel, and warp drive also has a drift mechanic, present in mainly kart races, where you get a speed boost after successful drifts around corners. Moreover, you also pick up crystals that act as your resource, and you can use them in multiple ways. These include a temporal speed boost, a mine to disrupt opponents behind you, or a homing rocket. The fourth way you can use the crystal is for a teleport. On various places on the track you will see teleportation spots, and provided you have the resources needed, you can teleport to said spot, leading you to a shortcut or a part of the track with more crystal pickups or speed pads available. This resource management is very well implemented, as how tempted you might be to put a rocket in your opponent's exhaust, saving the energy for when a teleportation spot appears can be invaluable. After each race you have the option of buying one of 3 random customization parts if you have enough cash. You can always skip buying anything at all, but then you don't know when you'll see that particular part again. This randomness in the upgrade system would not have worked in an online competitive title, but in the single-player focused warp drive it's a fresh take on progression, and I'm always excited after each race to see what new parts are presented. Everything about warp drive, including the music, sets it apart from more or less all similar titles on the market, and I highly recommend it. This is actually not the first time developer Supergonk has made a racer like this, since they have also made the equally unique Trailblazers, which I talk about in my first video about unknown Antigravity Racing games. Feel free to check the video out by clicking on it here. Also, feel free to let me know what you thought about these titles in the comments. Thank you for watching. This is Eric from AG Racing Central, and I'll see you in the next video.